to have Colonel Inderjeet sir with us again and on a very important and interesting topic, that is a cyber citizenship. What are the different things we need to be prepared for the next era, because all things are going on online. So today sir will enlightening us upon the many things. We'll discuss many things on the cyber citizenship, and we can also bring out we have a one QA session for the blockchain purpose also. If you have any query, any doubt regarding the blockchain, you can discuss with sir, as sir is also working on the smart city and blockchain, and he has done a very wonderful work in these areas. So now, without much delay, I request sir to take over the session and lighting us upon the cyber citizenship. Sir, I heartily welcome you at BVI camp.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Vishal, and thank you, Dr. Huda. It's been really a pleasure to be with you all today and taking next second lecture in this FTB. And I understand you all had really wonderful, lectures one after the other, and the things have been very interesting. And today, what we are trying to talk of is something which we have not been touching upon either in our academia or in our daily life, but definitely we being very much part of it, and we are embracing this technology every day in and day out, and this is what we have been doing. Like we all are a citizen of India. We know that we have the set boundaries to us. We have the rules to us. We behave with the rules, behave to the rules, and we have the kind of fundamental rights, primary rights, your secondary rights. So we know the limits of how we live in this country, and if you break a rule, definitely there is something wrong which is there. So we are aware of those kind of things altogether, right? But when it comes to the internet, how many of us have really thought that, are there any rules to internet, or we just went onto the internet and started browsing the internet and, going about it, finding data, using data, abusing data, stealing data, or, doing all those things which are warranted and which are unwarranted on the internet. And today we are seeing a lot of cyber crimes happening. Today we see a lot of frauds happening. People trawling there, and there are a lot of new terminologies also which have come up altogether in last couple of years, and we are all privy to those kind of things. But how many of us really felt that there are supposed to be some rules to bind us together on the internet or the digital media as to what all it should entail to keep us secure while we are there. So today, that's the aim of the topic. What we are going to be talking about is a cyber citizenship, the kind of citizenship we have in the physical era, the citizenship when we have it in the cyberspace would be the cyber citizenship. And there also we are living in and out. And just imagine the number of hours of yours you may be spending in front of the screen, in front of the laptops or internet, using the internet. So that's the way we are today, right? And I shall be talking of what the cyber citizenship is all about, how we are different from the next gen, which is coming in the Gen Z, what we talk of, and how we were, what's the rights and the rules of the citizenship, what it should be altogether, and something I'll touch upon the cyberbullying, then and those lines, right? So if you take a moment and just think it to yourself as to how much of time you spend daily on a screen, okay, and give it a very sincere answer to yourself as to how much of time you're using, and especially you would have really realized that COVID has started. You have started having a much more, longer screen hours than before. Okay? Uh, while I'll not touch upon our lives, I will try to touch upon the lives of the teenagers who are much more affected by the screen time, right? So just think as to how many hours they would be spending in front of the screen or the mobile phones. They're all glued to the mobile phone these days, and it becomes a problem for the parents to handle at times. And to tell you a fact, after the COVID has started moving in, that's in the month of February, March, the screen time has gone phenomenally very high. So some of the kids are going up to almost 10 to 12 hours of screen time, right? So that is the kind of screen time they are, using. To tell you about who are the participants of the cyberspace. So there are two kind of people who survive on the cyberspace. One are the digital natives, and second are the digital immigrants. Make the things understandable. I'll touch upon the digital immigrants first, right? And the digital immigrants are the ones who are not born in this digital era, but have been later being fascinated with this technology, and we adapted to these kind of technology. And that's us, right? And uh, the other part of the people who are there in the cyberspace, they are the digital natives. The digital natives are the ones who are born in digital world, you know, and technology is an integral part of their life, and that's what we are being seen day in and day out, right? We are seeing, the moment a kid is growing up, he's being privy to so many screens. He's accessing the internet when he's just age of 1, 6 months, even 1.5 year, 2 years, and as we go along, right? So the distinction between both of them, digital natives are multitasking, they're parallel thinking, they're multimedia kind of guys, and they have the multiple resources to themselves. And if you think of yourself, you have the limited resources, you're more textual oriented, you are sequential thinking, and you have the single task in mind. So while a digital native is very much averse to the new kind of technology, whereas you try to adapt to this technology, we are still learners in this technology era. Right? And case in point, you give a mobile phone to your kid, he'll just take half an hour to find out the features which will take you almost 2 to 3 days to do it. That's the start point. You can just imagine how the digital natives are and how the digital immigrants are. And what we are seeing right now, when it comes to a digital society, and we are all the citizens of this digital society, we create a lot of social network data. We use it very extensively. We use social media. We generate huge amount of data, and a sort of collective storytelling when it comes to the digital society. So we are both part of it. So no one is less or more, but yes, they have come into the technology much easier than us. Coming on to who are your millennials today, we have been talking of the millennial words quite often, and we touch upon that particular point. So these are the guys who are highly connected. They play video games very often, and you know it. The amount of games which they download today, either on the mobiles or your laptops, is phenomenal. They have number of handheld devices, almost average of 7 to be precise. Right? They use instant messaging. They use social networking site. They easily adapt and adopt to any technology, and they're the content generators, right? And that content is huge in number when we talk of it. So some bit of numbers which I would like to share with you. What we have today is the millennials. They have around 78% of teens have cell phones, and almost half of them own smartphones today. Right? That's huge number. And 1 in 4 are still mostly the kind of the internet users, and this number is growing in India as well. So though we have around 500 million internet users, this number is growing in India. And 23% of teens have tablets. 81% use social networking sites very aggressively. And what we have been seeing the last 3 4 days, you know, most of the Indians, 120 million of people in India were using TikTok very often, right? That's a huge number if you look at it. And believe me, it must not be you or me. I never had a TikTok in my mobile ever. So who are the people who would be using it? These are the teens, right? Uh, then 8 to 18-year-old, these are the guys who devote more than 7 hours and 38 minutes for entertainment and using the social media all across the day. And this period has almost gone to 12 hours now when I am talking of the COVID, right? So that's quite alarming. So how do the digital natives, they are communicating, uh, though they may be, sitting next to each other, but they still prefer to communicate using the apps, communicate using the digital media. They would be tweeting, they would use SMS, they would use, uh, the kind of Insta messages, uh, they would be using other group messages. So there are a huge number of digital applications which are there. So while they are very close to each other, right, on the social media, on the digital platform, they are miles apart when it comes to talking to each other or sitting to each other or interacting with each other. That is the beauty of the digital space. It's kind of bringing the unknown people together at the same time distancing the people who are close to each other, right? And some of the apps which are being used by the digital natives, just to name a few, Instagram is quite famous, and 90% of the users are under 25 years of age. Okay, and they are the ones who aggressively share the videos, photos, right, on the Instagram. And then is the Twitter. Though Twitter is not pretty famous with the teens, it's more famous with the middle-aged people. So 42% of users are around 15 to 17 years old, and 32 are from 18 to 29 years of age. YouTube, you find a lot of YouTubers coming up post-COVID also. That's quite a huge number. And there are almost 1 billion users each month watching 6 billion hours of video. Okay. And everybody is reached the kind of the viewership or the viewer age is from 18 to 49. Then a very popular social media app is the Facebook, what we use, and 88% of adults aged from 19 to 29 use Facebook, and this is varying in country to country. In India also, it's got different numbers. Snapchat, it's around 65% of users between 18 and 34 years of age, and LinkedIn, of course, is around 61% of users fall in the age range of 30 to 64. Then you have a Reddit, that's around 41% of users between 18 and 29, and of course the Spotify, right? People use it uh, for the music. So my point in telling you on this slide is they use different medias for sharing different content, and the content is pretty huge. That's why the amount of content which is being generated by each one of them is phenomenal. So when I'll come to my later slides, I will tell you what is the actual outcome of this content, and you will agree with me as to when we generate a content, there is a content going. Okay, so we will touch upon the data privacy and the data security part of it, and the data governance if required. So we'll touch those issues as well. Right? But There are some kind of the negatives of the social media. Though I told you that fantastic, we are all connected, and all the teams are connected, all the natives are connected, right? But the pitfalls are that 88% of private sexual images have been stolen by pornography websites and posted to the social media sites. This is growing every day, and there's a problem. There's a problem with the child pornography on the internet today. 29% of the relationships involving sex crime were initiated on social networking sites. And what we are seeing today, most of the divorces also do happen just because of no, the internet or the digital platform. Okay, 25% of teens between age of 11 to 17 have forwarded a sex message, and 68% of girls were asked to send a picture, whereas 42% of boys have been asked to send pictures. And this is so important. So if and what we saw last month, boys' locker room in Delhi, it was the same kind of case which was there. Okay. So these are not the numbers; these are the kind of things which are happening, and we have to be very much aware of what are the facts, right? And something very interesting which is there is that in 100% of the cases, teens are the victims of sexual predators and have gone willingly to meet them, offline or in person. And to tell you a case in point, this happened in Gurgaon. Girl aged 9 years, she, kind of managed to get a social media account on a Facebook or something. She got in touch with a student, supposed to be a student from her school, and they started texting. Thereafter, after a couple of exchange of texts for a couple of days, the boy, he said he's in class 9, he wants to meet her. And despite the girl refusing to do so, finally agreed. And one fine day when uh, they were supposed to meet, she went along with the driver, and he said, okay, I'll be in a blue shirt or t-shirt or whatever. And when she went to that place, she found a 40-year-old man standing, right? So these are the sexual predators who actually exploit the digital platform like this, and it is all growing every day. Right? And if you look at the registered sex offenders of US, they were almost 7,47,408. Unfortunately, India, people don't really understand what is a cyberbullying, what is a sex offenders, who are the sexual predators. Uh, that's why cases are not getting reported in India. Unfortunately, every police station, thumbs it back and says that we don't have a cybercrime cases. Notwithstanding, our rules are not so strong today, or the people are not very aware as to how to report of these kind of cases. So there's a kind of a dichotomy. There's kind of problem here, which needs to be addressed by the cyber law. And what we are seeing today is teens are willing to meet with strangers, and 16% of teens consider meeting someone they only talked online, and 8% have actually met someone they knew online. Okay, and this is all happening today. And 75% of children are willing to share personal information online about themselves and their family in exchange for goods and services. And that's why you find, on social media, people are kind of putting all kind of posts there, not realizing as to who are the which are the eyes which are watching this information, and what is the outcome of that particular information, right? So what we see is the digital natives who are there on the net today are uniquely susceptible to frauds, a lot of them, and there are a lot of frauds do happen day in and day out. And this makes the job of all the fraudsters easy, and they fall prey to their generosity of sharing information and falling prey to them, right? What we see, one thing is interesting, is that the digital native are also very cautious when making payments online. Okay? And they expect brands to take responsibility for trust and safety. They're not bothered about what's happening there. They think if it is Facebook, then the Facebook should be responsible for the trust and safety, right? And and these brands would do well to pay attention. So that's how what they are anticipating. And the digital natives are changing the way we live and work today. And we see a lot of changes in and out of the digital society, digital space, how the digital natives are actually living on the internet or the digital media. So what we practically see, while all of us, we are the digital immigrants. When you had gone, or when you were growing up, we're definitely looking in for a newspaper to read, okay, and try to find out what's happening all around. Where are the digital natives today? The first thing they get up, and when they wake up, they grab their mobile phone to know what's happening on the social media. That's the kind of difference what we have. That's the kind of era which has changed over a period of time. And as the internet has become an indispensable tool for everyday life, that and it's important than ever to dust off the concept of citizenship and apply it to the online world. It's very important now because I am not very sure that how many of us, in the class right now, would be aware of what is the digital media all about, what are the citizenship all about, what are the concepts of the citizenship when we talk of online digital society all about, right? So the definition of the cyber citizenship to sorry. So citizenship is the rights, privileges, and duties conferred on a member of a society, and that's what we are doing. It in a physical life. We have, like I told you, we have the fundamental rights. We have the rights. We have the privileges. We have the duty to do this towards the society, and it includes both protections. That's a Bill of Rights, and the duties. That's obeying the law, contributing towards the community, and that's what we have been doing in our physical life today, right? Whereas the cyber citizenship is the rights, privileges, and the responsibilities required of internet or internet and cellular network users. So the difference between the physical citizenship and the cyber citizenship, there's a total change what we are going to do. Okay? Whereas you have the rights, you have the privileges for the online society, digital society, you have to work for that. And this is the definition which is more appropriate, which I thought I will, share with you. It can be defined as norms of appropriate, responsible behavior with the regard to the technology use, right? And this is what we are expected to do when we are part of the digital society. Okay, so the pillars of the cyber citizenship in the 21st century, we have, the digital rights. We talk of digital literacy, we talk of digital communication, we talk of digital EI, that's the emotional intelligence. We talk of the digital security, we talk of digital safety, we talk of digital use and digital identity. Okay? So these are the pillars which actually define the cyber citizenship. And the number one goal of the digital citizenship is to teach teachers, students, parents, as to what are the basics of the technology issue today, right? And it will be really helpful for all of us when we are using the digital, platform to be very safe. And these 9 elements practically, uh, form the framework for the cyber citizenship, and that's important to understand. So what I'll do is I'll be, telling about each one of them very briefly so that you understand what are the pillars of it and what are the rules of the cyber citizenship. So to give you an overview, it is the digital access when we talk of. It talks of the full electronic participation in society. So that's why we talk of the digital, reach. In our country also we talk of the digital reach to the rural area or urban rural area, class A cities, class B cities. So we are trying to give the access to everyone. We are giving the second part is the digital commerce, which is about doing the business online. That's what you see Flipkart, the Amazon, and to give the access to every part of the society, right? Digital communication. This about the electronic exchange of information using email system or the communication system. Digital literacy. This about the capacity building and learning about the technology, teaching and its use. Then comes the digital law. Okay, and it is the electronic responsibility for action, and these what we do on the on the social on the internet. Then are the digital rights and responsibilities, and this accounts for those freedoms extended to everyone in the digital world. We also talk of digital health and wellness. So if people are aware of something, a new area which we talk of, the cyber psychology, right? So that is also something which we are being talking of these days. So it talks of the physical and the psychological well-being in the digital world. And we also talk of the digital security where we have the electronic precaution to guarantee safety to all the users for there. And last but not the least is the digital etiquette. This is about the electronic standard of conduct or procedures, right, which we have to follow. And when we talk of the digital citizenship, we also talk of the digital footprint. And if you really understand what the digital footprint is, give you an example. Every one of us knows about Snapchat, right? And the hallmark of Snapchat is that the moment you put a data and anybody sees, that picture, what you're sharing, or the video, what you're sharing, that gets deleted. But unfortunately, it doesn't happen. So it's always there on the internet. Or the other thing is that anything which you're doing on the social media, right, it never gets away. It's going to be there always. And the nature of the digital footprint and their real life consequences are so very important, right? And we really have to manage it reasonably. And you are seeing a lot of things, happening on the social media today, on the internet, and it lands up into a litigation or a problem or a legal case, right? Then you have a digital empathy, and digital empathy is about ability to empathetically uh, think towards one's own and others' need and feelings online, right? You just can't be, so harsh when you're writing, not understanding what is the consequences of, what you're saying on the internet, the social media. So you have to respect the feeling of others. You have to be very empathetic and the complete, when you're typing or putting your messages on the network, on the internet. Then comes your, ability to protect one data by creating strong passwords and to manage various cyber attacks. And you're seeing today all the social media are so vulnerable that every time or every day you find some or the other the passwords getting stolen, they are being sold in the darknet, and the very critical information gets lost. So the cybersecurity management also plays a part of the cyber citizenship. Then, which is more important to all the academias today, and you would also be, preview to most of you must be preview to this, is the cyberbullying. And I don't know how many of you, or how many of to how many of you would have students would have come and said that we are being cyberbullied. Unfortunately, that number is pretty low, but the number of cyberbullying happening today is almost 50% of the internet, 50 to 60%. So that is how it practically happens. And its ability to detect the cyberbully situation and handle them wisely. So if you are not able to handle those situations, you know, the cyberbullying leads to suicides, okay, by the kids, by the teenagers. Something which is very important, and I touched upon initially, is the screen time management. And I think this goes for everyone. So especially for the teens, it's the ability to manage one's screen time, its engagement time online, and it can only happen with the self-control. It cannot be enforced upon anyone. If you try to enforce anyone, it it bounce back. Okay, and then comes your digital citizen identity, right? So, like you have an identity card in your physical world, you need to have a digital identity, and it is all about ability to build and manage a healthy identity online and offline with integrity. So you just can't say that you are a saint when it comes to the physical life, but you're a rogue when you're there on the internet. It can't happen. So what you are cannot fake yourself on the internet. But unfortunately, the identity which is there in the physical life is totally different from the online for most of the cases, and I've seen it personally. People tend to be rogues when it comes to the social media or the digital platform, right? And the last point here is about uh, the privacy management. That is, all your personal information shared online should be handled with discretion. And here I'll tell you a point. While we try to, safeguard ourselves, we are online. We try to be interactive with a lot of people. We want to engage with a lot of people. But at the same time, what is happening is, if you people noticed it, on 1st of February, Facebook changed its privacy policy. And the privacy policy goes like this: that we will keep on monitoring the all the applications or the banking applications which you'll be using online or offline, even when your Facebook application is off. Okay, so they are monitoring you even when you're sleeping or when you're not even using your Facebook. So how much is too much to monitor you, right? So the same thing which you find with Google. You've been monitored for your calls. You've been monitored for your map by through the map, other applications which are there, so many things which are there, right? So the privacy management is so important, and if you remember, when the things of Cambridge Analytica came up and the privacy issues really came up after the U.S. election. If you try to download the information what Facebook is collecting, you'll be surprised. It is collecting all the information about your likes, your friends, your contacts, your messages, what's there in the phone, what numbers are there in the phone, and all the information from the day one when you joined the Facebook. So the privacy is a very sore topic, when it is coming to the internet or the digital society. And that is what is the case when, yesterday when India has banned all the 59 applications. It's not that it's Chinese. The thing is that they're copying all the data and taking it to China. So that is again a problem. And the bottom line of any cyber citizen is what you do when no one is watching you is very important. And that defines your character. Like normal life also, your character is defined by your individual behavior, in your attitude, individual, upbringing, and everything which is there. Some bit of points I'll like to elaborate. I spoke of the digital access and the digital rights. So uh, when we come to the Indian scenario, when we spoke of the digital access, it's like kind of giving the access to all. And as on today in India, we have been able to give access to only 540 million out of 1.35 billion people, right? So this is still uh, an area which we need to grow on and huge potential in India. And is the digital communication. So around 88% of teens are using social media and they have witnessed someone being mean or cruel. Okay? And while we are doing the digital communication, it's so important that treat the others with respect online, right? And never cyberbully. Okay? So a point about the digital law. So most of us we know that there are a lot of copying of data. Even in your education, a lot of plagiarism thing really comes up. Okay, so it should be important that we should not steal data or damage others' digital identity or property. So legal rights and restrictions governing the technology use, full electronic participation in society. When it comes to your digital rights and responsibilities, this is about the privilege and the freedom extended to all digital technology users and the behavioral expectations that come with the law, right? And the legal rights and restrictions governing technology use. And it makes more appropriate, when the decisions are required, when we are using different technology. And digital literacy is a capability to use the digital technology and knowing when and how to use it. So we need to make people digitally enabled, and that should be our mandate in times to come. Digital commerce, we are seeing all the digital platforms, the e-commerce platforms, trying to grow into the rural India part of it, and that's a very pretty healthy sign when it comes to the digital commerce. Something on the digital security, that's about the self protection. uh, we have to have the the basic human rights which we should be able to uphold in the digital form. Okay, and about the digital etiquette which I brought in earlier, uh, these are the standards of conduct